All right, welcome back. I made preseason predictions for the NHL season standings, the final NHL season standings. I made them before the season started. I made a little list. Got my little list right here. But I never made the video, so here we are. I got my Vegas Golden Knights jersey on because I have them winning the President's Trophy. I have them with the most projected points in the East and Western Conference. It's also my only Fleury jersey. And I was too lazy to change my hat. Fleury, Montreal kind of goes together. End of an era, so it comes full circle. Still got the Boston stuff up though, because Boston is better than Montreal in sports. I'm just a Boston homeboy. You know what I'm saying? We'll actually see about that this year in hockey. Though I don't I don't think that's gonna ring true this year. But anyway, we're diving into this. So I got team names, city names. Projected points, my projected points, they're usually pretty inaccurate, so please don't hesitate to critique them. It's perfectly okay. And the numbers in parentheses are the points that each team had last season. So we're starting off number one in the Central. I have the Dallas Stars. It's a solid team. You know what you have in net with Ottinger. You know what you have with the Smith. You have a solid forward group. You have a team that can play team defense. You have solid left defensive players. My only question for them is their right-handed defenseman. It's not great, but I will say as long as you get some type of serviceable defense from your right-shot defenseman, I think they'll be just fine. That might be an acquisition that's made during trade deadline. Maybe they trade for one or two right-shot defensemen to kind of improve their D-core. We'll see. Right shot defensemen are expensive, but there are some teams with a little surplus of them. So there's also that. There could be potential for a trade. We'll see, but assuming the team is as is, 113 points, they had 106 last year. Number two, Colorado. You know, I have questions about Colorado almost every year. But I don't really have too many questions. We kind of know what they are at this point. I have them projected for 111 points, which is 9 more than they had last year. I kind of like their forward group. I don't hate it. I think there's some forward depth there. The defense, questions can be had, absolutely. You know, a lot of people question Josh Manson. I happen to think, I don't care for Josh Manson and his play style. But he's a pretty solid defensive defenseman most of the time. As long as he's not being asked to do too much in the offensive zone, he's pretty consistent in his own net. Got to manage the minutes, but at the same time, I don't hate him. And I know there's a lot of people that will disagree with me. And I know, because I've seen it, there are a lot of examples that also disagree with what I just said. But overall, he's a fine second pair defenseman. He's a great third pair defenseman, but they also have AHL depth in the defensive area, right? They got Keaton Middleton and so on in the AHL, if you need to call up. Third place, I got Minnesota, 107 points projected. Last year they had 97. Last year they were absolutely demolished with injuries. You had Kaprizov, you had Brodin, you had a lot, really, almost their entire roster out with injury for mostly substantial time. Jake Middleton was out for quite a bit. Brodin, Gustafsson, I think, was healthy. I don't fully remember. Maybe that was the year before he was hurt. But you had Joel Eriksson Ek. You had Matt Boldy out for a bit. You had Kirill Kaprizov out for most of the season. He played like 30-something games, went out, and when he came back, he didn't look like himself, and then went back out again until the playoffs. He looked good in the playoffs, but there's a lot going on here. You also had Marcus Johansson playing on that second line. They've upgraded to Tarasenko. Whether or not that's an upgrade, well, if you watch Johansson, it's an upgrade, just to say the least. So 107 points, but I still have him in third place. Fourth place, St. Louis. You know, this is where it starts to become kind of a question, is the 4 through 6. I think a lot of these teams are going to be fighting for the playoffs, that last the wild card spots on the last few days. My question for St. Louis is, can those recent acquisitions like Holloway and Broberg have a repeat performance of last year? It'd be great if they grew. They don't necessarily need to grow and be better than they were last year, but they need to sustain. Um, I think that's possible. Holloway looked great, but his points increase was substantially. It was substantial. I don't know if that's repeatable, but overall, I like their lineup. I like Snuggerud. The Blues. I did watch the Blues Wild game last night. Blues looked terrible. They look slow. It's game one. It happens. We see teams get off to slower starts, kind of ease into the season. It's a long season. So I'm not too concerned about the Blues and what we saw last night. But, if Snuggerud can kind of find his game like he did, what he played 7 games last year, I think he had 4 points. Maybe it was 6. I think it was 4. But I think they'll be in good shape to make the playoffs. Let's see. I even have notes I took. Shen also getting a little older. We'll see how he does. Hopefully he doesn't regress. He might. Again, getting a little older. Physical guy. Can miss time because he plays physical. My big question for them is their second pairing of defense. It's young. The third pairing of defense. My apologies. It's young. It's a little inexperienced. So we'll see. Sometimes that can be a bit of a liability for a team. And we've seen that with some great teams. We've seen that with some poor teams as well. So we'll see what happens with that. It'll be fun to watch. 5th place, I got Winnipeg sneaking into the playoffs with 96 points. Last year they had 116. I got questions, man. I just got so many questions about this team compared to last year. My biggest question is who are their second liners? Right now you have Jonathan Taves as your second line center. You have Chibrikov as well. We'll see. Iafallo also probably on that second line. Is he a second liner at this point? Probably not. Probably a third line guy. So there's also that. You also have Gustav Nyquist in your top 9, which is a concern because his regression the past few years, it's been rough. I absolutely love Gustav Nyquist. He played at the University of Maine when I was in college at another hockey school, so I got to see a lot of college Gustav Nyquist play against. Not against. I didn't see them actually play each other, but playing. Johnny Gaudreau was the same time. Amazing era in Hockey East. I got so fortunate, but I got questions about Winnipeg. And their fourth line solid. Their right Ds are fine. I have questions about their left defense. Right, Hayden Fleury, is he a second pair defenseman? Logan Stanley can be a pylon at times and can kind of get lost within kind of being a rat not a rat, but like a bit of a pest as opposed to playing defense. So there's questions, but they do have Connor Hellebuck. They do have a lot of veterans. I love Nino Niederreiter so much. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be able to squeak into the playoffs. You have some good pieces there. Your first line's excellent. They'll be able to win some games. 6th place, though, I got Utah just squeaking out of the playoffs. I know a lot of people had Utah up, 3-4. Not many people I saw had them in 5th. I usually do my projections before I look at other people's because I don't want to, I don't know. I like to form my own opinions and stuff, and I have very different thought processes from other people that post their stuff, right? I look for different things than other people do. But past few days I've looked, but I already had the list written down. Utah got 92 points. My biggest question for them is, will their team defense improve? Their forwards need to commit to playing defense a little more. And you see that with some of the players, and Logan Cooley is a great example of that. He's become pretty responsible in terms of playing defense as well as offense and being able to produce and being able to transition. Some of the young guys are pretty solid at that, but at the same time, there's a lot of guys that need some work. I'm curious to see how J.J. Peterka does with that as well. That's going to be a big addition, playing top 6 minutes. We'll see. What else? Center depth. Is Barrett Hayden a top 2 centerman? I don't know. And he doesn't necessarily have to drive a line. He can be a complementary piece. I like him a lot. I don't know. I'd like to see him kind of be a top 2 centerman, and I know Cooley has been playing on that second line. He's gotten first line minutes as well. But who is that other centerman to go with Cooley in the top 6? Right now, I think it's Barrett Hayden. I think he's injured, but should come back soon. Let's see, maybe like day to day or something. The goaltending, we kind of know what it is, but it's also kind of a question as well. How good is your goaltending going to hold up? How well is, Vejmelka and Vanacek? That's your goaltending tandem? Is that a playoff goaltending tandem? I don't know. I absolutely love both of those guys, so I hope so. I really do. I love Vanacek, and I absolutely love Carmel Vejmelka. I don't know if that is quality enough to make the playoffs, though. But we'll see. I still have them really close. Again, 4 through 6 could be up in the air. At least as of, game 1 and 2. Some teams have played 2 games already. It's crazy. 7th place, I got the Chicago Blackhawks. I think they've improved a bit. I watched 3 of their preseason games, and after I did the list, I also saw the Bruins Blackhawks play. Was that last night? And the Blackhawks looked better in preseason than they did against the Bruins. I kind of like what they're doing. They're more committed to playing team defense. Frank Nazar looks good. Sammy Renzel is going to be a stud. He's got some stuff to work out on defense, but overall, I'm not super concerned. I think he's going to be a solid 2-way defenseman that can put up some serious points. I really like Sam Renzel a lot, right? And you still got Alex Vlasic over there. And the goaltending future is bright. Soderblom, outstanding last night. Just absolutely outstanding. And Drew Commesso is just very composed in net. Can handle just being bombarded with shots throughout a game. I think they're going to improve. I don't think there's a lot of pieces around them to really make any type of serious improvement, right? You still have Ryan Donato playing a top line role. You still have Tyler Bertuzzi in your top 6. And whether he's a top 6 forward at this point is a question. I think on most playoff teams, he's a third-line guy. But Chicago, I'm impressed. I don't want Chicago to do well because I'm a bitter Bruins fan, and they beat us in the Stanley Cup. But Chicago is going to improve, and there's a lot of bright spots on this team. Last year they were kind of brutal to watch. The preseason and even the Bruins game a little bit last night, it's getting more entertaining, and there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Blackhawks fan. 8th place, I got Nashville, 66 points. Last year they had 68. Saros, who did they play? The Blue Jackets? They played the Blue Jackets last night. I had that game on the background. I did 3 games last night. I couldn't, it's 2 games is my limit to follow. Otherwise, you're missing stuff, and just my personal thing. No more than 2 games on. And even that, I'd still prefer to watch a single game at a time, but, it is what it is. Nashville, UC Saros looked excellent last night. I don't know how sustainable it is to put that type of pressure and lack of defense and help on your goaltender for every single night throughout the season. We know Saros is going to play a lot. We know he's an excellent goaltender. If Nashville continues to have games like they played against the Jackets last night, there's going to be goals that go in, and that's not necessarily Saros' fault. Also, their offense was questionable. Are they going to be mostly a power play team this year? Is that how they're going to score most of their goals? Their 5-on-5 offense was questionable. This also kind of assumes a bit of a coaching bump as well. I did consider that. I absolutely love Andrew Burnett. He's one of my favorite players. He was one of my favorite players. I like him as a coach. I think he does a lot of things right. But man, he has struggled. He's just struggled. I don't think he has a long leash. I think he gets fired this year. When should that happen? there'll be a new coach coming in. They might spin off a few games and win them, and that could bump them up. If there's no coaching change, I have them upper 50s, lower 60s, maybe like 58 to 61. We're going to speed this up a bit, though. Pacific Division, Vegas, I have them with 116 points projected, winning the President's Trophy this year. Last year they had 110. This team is just absolutely outstanding. Their top 9 is just excellent. Their fourth line is also solid, can grind, can also score goals. Absolutely love Kolasar and how he's grown his game. He's solid defensively. He can play that gritty, physical style of hockey. And he's got some scoring talent as well. And that's your fourth line. Like, it's a solid team. It really is. My biggest question for them is their goaltending. Aiden Hill just has to be fine. He doesn't have to go crazy. He doesn't have to have like a 910 or above. You know, a 904 to 907 is more than fine. I think they'll be all right. Their defense is fine. Maybe a little bit of questions here and there, but at the same time, Bruce Cassidy's your coach, and he's great at getting the team to buy into playing a total effort of team defense. And I think Vegas is going to be a good team this year. I don't care to see Vegas do well. I'm one of those guys, but at the same time, man, they have a solid team. We'll see. Next up, Edmonton Oilers. I have them with 107 points. Would they have 101 last year? Oh, I have them 106 points projected, 101 last year. Zach Hyman should be back sometime, maybe November-ish. Not 100% because I didn't look it up, but that's last I think I remember is maybe late November. Aside from potentially Hyman coming back, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins, I got questions about their scoring depth. I really do. They have some young guys, Podkolzin, but at the same time, I don't think his development's been managed appropriately at the NHL level. I call him Matthew Savoy, as some people say. Haven't looked up the pronunciation officially. I should probably do that because the kid's going to be good. We'll see how he's managed and his minutes are managed and what lines he plays on and if he's set up for success or not. And that kind of brings me to an unpopular opinion, but I do have coaching questions about Knobloch behind the bench. I have questions. I could do a whole video on it because I know a lot of people, and even like the Coach of the Year, Jack Adams, he always gets votes for those. I do have a lot of questions about his ability as a coach, and if he were to be successful on another team. I don't think Jay Woodcroft, the former Oilers coach, has been hired yet. Maybe he has. But at the same time, I thought Jay Woodcroft I thought he did a little better of a job than Knobloch has done. So we'll see. I have questions, but at the same time, you have two of the best players in the absolute world. You need Matthias Ekholm to stay healthy. You need Bouchard to play serviceable defense, hopefully improve a little bit, but at the same time, Bouchard plays the Oilers' defensive scheme very well and kind of covers up for some of his defensive lapses as well. So there's also that. And goaltending, oh, yeah. We got Stuart Skinner in there and Calvin Pickard. I think we kind of know what to expect. I think Stuart Skinner and even Pickard are not bad goalies. It's a lot of defensive lapses in front of them and a lot of second, third chance rebound opportunities that end up going in the net. So there's also that. And, Skinner does have bad games as well. Most goaltenders have a series of bad games. So, no free pass there, but at the same time. All right, Vancouver. Questions. Outside of their first line and Philip Hedl, where's their scoring going to come from? Where are they going to generate offense to win games? I think their defense is solid, if healthy, and I think they'll be healthy. And I think their goaltending with Demko back will be a lot better, again, if they stay healthy. My biggest question for them is their offense. And we know it's almost guaranteed that Elias Pettersson will bounce back. I love Jake DeBrusk up there on that first line. They got Brock Besser. They re-signed him. Right? But, and looking at their addition subtractions, they lost Pia Suter, centerman, Dakota Joshua, who I loved, had a bit of a down year last year, but overall physical, kind of power forward kind of guy that can score a little bit. And Carson Soucy to kind of shore up that third pairing defense. Sometimes gets up in that top four. They get Evander Kane, Drew O'Connor, and Marcus Pettersson. So I don't think they got a whole lot better, but I don't think they got a whole lot worse. Right? And they had some injuries last year. They still had 90 points last year. I have them projected for 94. I think they'll be slightly better, but at the same time, a lot of questions about their forward group. First team to miss the playoffs in the Pacific, I have the LA Kings. They have a decent top six. I think there's questions about Laferriere and Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko about consistency. Laferriere about kind of building on what he's already done, if he can sustain that at the very least. And if those two questions are answered, I think it's a solid top six. If Kuzmenko can be a consistent guy, it's a good top six. Other than that, their defense is highly questionable, though. I do not like their defense, and I'm a little concerned about that. You lose Gavrikov, you get some of these other guys in, Dumoulin and stuff. It's questionable. And Darcy Kemper had a good year last year. We know Darcy Kemper can be a bit volatile in net. Does he bounce, or does he continue his great play in net, or does he show a bit of regression? History would tell you he's gonna not repeat what he did last year. So I do have a lot of questions. Last year they had 105 points. I have them going down to 93, and I think it's because their defense really took a big hit. Dude, should have kept Gavrikov, man. You should have just re-signed him. That's it. Maybe he didn't want to stay. I don't know. But Kings I got going down. Next team up, I got Calgary, 86 points. Last year they had 96. Again, there's some questions here. Will Dustin Wolf have a repeat performance of last year? Will opposing teams start to figure out where to shoot on Dustin Wolf? He's a great goaltender. He's going to be fine. He will almost certainly remain a starting goaltender in the NHL. But we might see his numbers dip as a result, and he might have to adjust. And depending on how he adjusts, he could repeat his performance from last year or build on it, or he could have a bit of a down year, sophomore slump, and that's very normal for goalies, so it's not super concerning. Who's the backup? Is it Cooley? What's going on here? Who is going to play the games where Wolf needs a rest? Wolf's not going to play 82 games. There's also minimal scoring ability with this team. Nazem Kadri is 35. Some of the young guys could step up. Coronado and Zeri. I like them, but at the same time, they could not put the puck in the net last year. Had to play some defense. There's also questions about Rasmus Anderson. Is he going to get traded? What's going on with that? And just regarding their defensive group as a whole, there's some questions there. There's definitely some questions. I don't think they're bad. I think they're okay defense. They're pretty solid defensively. But overall, the roster is not great. But the coaching staff does such a good job. I think they'll remain competitive. They play as a team. They play as a group and a unit. They play team defense. They play team offense as well. It's very reminiscent of Spencer Carberry in Washington, D.C. with the Capitals. I think they have solid coaching, and I think they'll put up some points and get some wins this year, but I do not see them repeating what they did last year. Next up, Anaheim Ducks. I have them projected for 83 points. Last year they had 80. Overall, it's a solid forward group. I'm curious to see how that second line pans out with Chris Kreider. Who else is it? Leo Carlson and Troy Terry. Those are two guys. If Kreider gets in front of the net, he could have a bit of a bounce back. He is an aging player. He's getting older. But he could get some rebounds and deflection goals, which is his bread and butter. But if that doesn't happen, you still have Frank Vetrano, who can swap into that top six second line left wing position. There's that. I do have questions about their defense, and honestly, I don't have a good read on their defense. I did not watch a whole lot of Ducks defensemen last year, and they have some young defensemen. 2 years ago, Lacombe, terrible defensively. Zellweger, questionable defensively. But last year, sometimes young defensemen flip a switch and boom, all of a sudden they're playing pretty solid defense as well as putting up points. So I don't really know what to expect from Lacombe. Yes, I am probably sleeping on him. I don't know. I assume he's gotten better defensively. He showed some commitment to it 2 years ago. I think I was impressed with him what I saw last year, but there were some defensive lapses. But I only watched him for. I only focused in on him for a game. I was impressed with Zellweger though. His defense isn't bad, but again, young defensemen, they're going to make mistakes. It's a process, especially at the NHL level when you're going against guys like Connor McDavid in your division. You got to see Connor McDavid 4 times a year, right? So these things are going to happen. But overall, I think Joe Quenneville will help with their team defense. He will help with some of these younger guys. I think there's a lot of positives here. Mintyukov's defensive ability, though, I did watch him a bit last year. It needs a lot of improvement. It really does. And your backup goaltender is now Peter Mrazek. John Gibson is gone. How's that going to pan out? I think that's going to cost you a few more games than you won last year because your goaltending took a bit of a hit in terms of your backup position. Love Dostal, though. I just have questions. I think this team is young and exciting and has a lot of potential. I got questions about their defense, and they'll continue to grow, and I think they'll continue to get better every year. Next up, Seattle, 73 points I had projected. They had 76 last year. Again, another team with way too many questions, especially about the forward group. What is going on? I don't know. But their top 4 defensemen could be pretty solid, assuming Ryan Lindgren has a bounce back year. I love Ryan Lindgren. I think if he just plays defensive hockey, he's great. Once you expect him to fly up in the offensive zone, I think that's where he starts to have issues. The New York Rangers had him sit back as a defensive defenseman. It worked out great for him. He went to Colorado. They want their defensemen to activate into the offensive zone, which is the new way of the NHL, which is partly why we see scoring increase so much. But Ryan Lindgren could not really adapt to that. I think going to Seattle will help his game. I think he'll be able to stay back in that defensive zone and really focus on shutting down the opposing team in forward group. And I think he'll have a solid season. So that's my little rant on Ryan Lindgren. I love that dude. I really do. But I think they're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be better than last year. I don't think they're going to be all that worse. And last up, I got the San Jose Sharks. Their offensive forward group is pretty impressive. It's a lot of young guys. There are rookies or guys going into their second year. You might see some steps with some players, and you might see guys like Michael Misa, who's being eased into the lineup. Maybe throw up an underwhelming season for, second overall pick? I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Anyway, I think he was second overall. What? Yeah, okay. Well, anyway. But for a second overall pick, maybe he throws up 35 points this year and is not so good defensively. For a young kid, especially an 18-year-old adjusted to the NHL, you got to keep your expectations in check. It's a league you have to grow with. You learn through experience a lot of the time, especially for some of these younger kids. And I think the Ducks forward group will continue to improve every single year. My biggest question for them is defense. What? John Klingberg played 22 minutes last night. 22. I had the number right here. 22 minutes, 24 seconds. The first line pairing defensive minutes. I think he was a -1. He's not a top 4 defenseman. And if you're playing John Klingberg as a first line defenseman, it's not going to be a great defensive year for your team. I do love Askarov. I think he's solid. You look at the stats from last year, but they weren't great. But you look at the team playing in front of him, and if you actually watch Askarov and how he's adjusting and how he's positioning, He's a solid starting goaltender. He's still very young. This is a great pickup for San Jose. Love the dude. Nedeljkovic is an okay backup. You know, he's a backup goalie. He's not a great backup goalie. He's not a terrible backup goalie, but he's a middle of the road backup goalie, which is fine. So that's what I got. I had to throw up the Yankees lose again, Boston. And it's been a great meme that's been going around, so there's that. So yeah, feel free to critique. I'm not perfect, and usually my projections are pretty rough, so we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think. That's all I got. Appreciate you, and take care, all right?